Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 12th episode of Across STEM with YSI, a podcast where we explore how science and storytelling intersect across cultures, countries, and time. I'm your host, Amir Ali Banani, and today we're joined by someone whose story is both global and deeply personal. And that's Maria Sole Bertossi, a 19-year-old biomedicine student at the world-renowned Karolinska Institute in Sweden. Originally from northeast Italy, Maria Sole's path has already taken her across borders, from winning a scholarship to the United World College in the Netherlands to helping organize a TEDx conference to immersing herself in interdisciplinary research that bridges medicine, neuroscience, and more. Maria Sole once envisioned herself as a neurosurgeon, but a transformative encounter with a professor from the Max Planck Institute in Germany steered her toward research, particularly in the field of neurological disorders and biological psychiatry. Beyond her academic journey, she's a polyglot, a poet, and a violinist who has taught music even, proving that science and art are not separate worlds, but two ways of authentically understanding the human experience, which is absolutely beautiful. Today, we'll dive into Maria Sole's story, what it's like to start her studies at Karolinska, how she sees the future of neuroscience, the cultural influences that shaped her path, and how creativity, communication, and science can come together to inspire the next generation of difference makers globally. So, Maria Sole, welcome to Across STEM with YSI. It's a big pleasure to have you here. How are you
It's a
doing, and
pleasure.
how are you settling into life at Karolinska just a couple weeks into your biomedicine program in Sweden?
It's a great pleasure to be here and a great pleasure to be a host on the podcast. My studies has started with the best food. I really enjoy Sweden and I really enjoy the school. It's clearly a very science and STEM-based university, and it's mainly a medical university. It's one of the few medical universities which only has few programs, and specifically one only bachelor in English. So it feels a very niched community to be in, but it's amazing and it's a wonderful opportunity to immerse in Swedish culture and also interact with Swedish students. And having a school which is attached to a hospital in both of the campuses is honestly, what else can you wish for as a researcher?
Absolutely. So it's beautiful that you're experiencing this new culture and studying at one of the world's most innovative medical universities. So good for you. I'm glad to see what you're doing already. You're just at the start and you're going to do amazing things. Now, growing up near the Austrian and Slovenian border in northeast Italy, how did that environment shape your worldview and your interest in science?
Living in a tree border is a truly awakening experience. Um, Slovenia, Austria, and Italy have many collaborative projects, but I would love to see science and STEM more involved in the future, because most of them are involved in international relationships, global politics, or probably economics. So there are plenty of opportunities for young students, but I have never seen a very wide collaborative project between the three countries, and we share very similar culture, very similar food, very similar regional languages as well, because Friulano, which is my regional language, can sometimes have letters which are similar to Slovenian language. So I would really enjoy seeing something wide on the tree border, because it rarely happens that three regions are so close to each other and so much work can be done to immerse in the culture, but mostly to share likewise minds and scientific minds which are working on something similar. So that would definitely be something which can inspire me in the future, and I hope I can make also a difference in the field.
Absolutely. So you have all this cross-cultural influence between the three countries. Of course, you're Italian and you speak Italian, but you also learn some German as well. So it's very cool. You're from a very unique part of Italy. I mean, I think every part of Italy is very unique, but especially where you're at, I don't think there's any other region in Italy that has so much cross-cultural influence, from bordering nations like that. So it's shaped your upbringing in a unique way, I believe. Now, you initially wanted to pursue neurosurgery before choosing the research track. Can you tell us more about the turning point that made you rethink and reconsider your path?
Yes, I have always been interested in the medical side of STEM. So I was pretty sure that my future would be more as a neurosurgeon rather than a researcher in the neuroscience field. But my main field of interest has always been the brain. Um, I do think I would be a great surgeon because I'm very determined. I can stay up for a lot of hours, and that pleasure of helping someone on such an intimate field, such as surgery, is it's something which will fulfill you for the rest of your life. It's a endless dedication, but something and some certain like meetings and courses I attended, and you know that like voice in the back of your head, which seems to never be satisfied with what you want, has always been telling me that probably research would be something more fulfilling and long term for me. I'm interested in neurological disorders, so it's a field which is not only highly stigmatized, but which is lacking a lot of research nowadays. So working in that aspect would be honestly thrilling, and yeah, I think the lab experience and the researchers you will meet, the connections you will make, it's gonna fulfill me in the same way as saving someone on a daily basis through surgery. So I don't think the choice is wrong, but I do think that both paths are something which shapes you as a person, as a doctor, and as a medical professional. And honestly, it's always a hard choice to diverge from a path you had in mind for a long time.
Yeah, it's a tough choice, but I mean, you're young and like it's okay to change paths all the time, and the path you chose, at least for now, is not all that different from what you were planning on going into originally. It's still in medicine, you're still going to medical school, and it's not like you switch to a completely different field. But even if you do, that's completely fine. Like switching fields is normal, and you just have to experience different things to make decisions in your life. And whatever's best, whatever suits you best, go for it. So I respect that you did that. Your time at the United World College in Netherlands exposed you to over 130 nationalities, which is tremendous. How did such a global experience influence the way you think about science, diversity, and collaboration?
This was actually the most life-changing experience I lived so far. And I honestly have that bittersweet feeling because I don't think it will ever happen again in such a large scale and with so many different people. And what I realized while studying with them is that all of the people which were involved in STEM subjects, which by the way, it's mandatory to take at least one science, so you basically collaborated with everyone in the school. No one was excluded from the STEM part, which I find truly inspiring, clearly. And what I noticed is that when we were outside and we shared our culture, we spoke with each other, we had those small fun facts, those conversations, the cultural differences, despite being very united, they were still evident. The accents, the culture, the way people speak, the time at which they eat. But when we were in the science labs, when we were in the science classes, I never felt that difference. And this proves how universal the language of science is and how it can go above all of the difference that we have between each other. It's such a perfect method to connect people, and the fact that it's internationally understandable, the measures are almost the same around the world, it makes it such a powerful instrument to join people. And I've noticed that conversations were sparked much more easily after class because something was so interesting, because we were excited about a project, because we wanted to apply it in extracurricular activities to the point that it actually felt we were speaking the same language in the class. And then we went out and we just went back to being ourselves again, but we felt much more unified than before. So this once again proves how science can connect people, and this is what the Youth STEM initiative does, and I can confirm that it works with 100 nationalities as well.
Absolutely, and that's really the beauty of science. Also because all these different nationalities, all these different cultures, when they combine, when people from these places bring their unique set of knowledge and skills and wisdom, everything, put them together in like a kind of, it's almost like a melting pot of cultures, but in a scientific aspect, it leads to some innovations that may not be possible if you just have, one culture or nation doing it, right? You have all these perspectives, you combine them together, they lead to something unique, a new discovery, a new innovation. That's truly the beauty of it. And it's really cool that you experienced that in the Netherlands. And I can imagine it's similar in Sweden too. It's very international. You have people from all across Europe, from across the world at Karolinska, very globally renowned international institute. So you must be experiencing similar things now as well.
Definitely. It's a very international course as well. So a lot of people from around Europe, around the world. You don't find that much diversity as in UWC, because UWC really stems its roots across the world, so it's truly transformative. But the international community in Sweden is firstly very welcoming, and it's very interconnected also to what your future will be. So it's full of researchers, it's full of amazing people, people that really want to make a difference, and everything is like so close and accessible and organized to the point that you actually feel part of a community in a way that's different than any other experience. So you come across people that are interested in science, people that are interested in the arts, and here it's very interesting because they have very wide organizations and student unions among different universities, and this just makes the process way more interesting than just attending a lecture.
Absolutely. That's one of the beauties of going to a very international university. Now, you've mentioned being inspired by a biological psychiatry professor from Max Planck Institute. What was it about that experience that shifted your trajectory?
Yes, so he is actually a PhD student at Max Planck Research Institute, and he taught a biological psychiatry course for a summer school which I attended in Prague. And for me it was one of the most difficult but at the same time fulfilling experiences I had when following a course, because I feel like when you sign up for something, you always have the expectation of knowing at least part of the things that are being said and catching up on everything, because what professors do is that they start very slowly and they try to involve you in what they're saying. Instead, what he immediately did was that he gave us a huge amount of information with so much detail and so much precision, which was clearly coming from a research background, that I was so fascinated by the way in which he was able to organize everything, and he was able to explain so many things in 1 week, that I came out and the first thing that I had to do after the lecture was ask so many questions and have a conversation with him, because everything about his work, about his research was so inspiring to me that it was actually what made me have that turning point from medicine to research, because I felt this immediate pull towards wanting to make a difference in the same way in which he was so excited by speaking about going to the lab, running the trials, coming back home, and this like hectic, busy, scientific and unforgettable experience you have when you work in laboratories. So it was the application year for university, the summer before applying. So it couldn't have been at a um, more precise moment, and it was truly transformative because I have never seen this precision and this engagement from myself, which I often find it difficult to like follow lectures for like more than like 45 minutes, but it was just so broadening that it's truly an experience that changes you when you find a professor which aligns with your way of thinking, your way of working, and you sort of see yourself in them in the future. And I think that they should know what kind of impact they have on students when this happens, and it's truly amazing. He isn't even a professor, he's like a PhD researcher still, but he felt like a professor to me.
Amazing. We need more professors like him
Yes.
because you don't want to just, go to a lecture and then, the professor teaches something but might be very kind of careless in some ways. You want someone who cares, who puts extra time, who wants to help you, who could, even transform your career path like he did. So it's tremendous, and we do need more professors like that, absolutely. And you've already done a lot before going to Karolinska. You have participated in neuroscience Olympiads, I believe, right? Summer schools, volunteering with neurodivergent communities, which is very impactful, among many other things. And I want to know, of everything that you've done and have participated in, what's one experience that stands out as particularly formative to you?
I would say my main inclination when I learn and when I experience is the connection you have with the people who are involved in that experience. And if I have to choose something which was unexpected, because it's usually the unexpected things which bring you to a different path, because what you create for yourself, it's still within your comfort zone. Well, when you take something which is thrown at you, which wasn't planned, which wasn't decided prior, and which you also feel like you're not competent for, is the most you will bring to yourself, and what will truly change you as a person, but also as a student. So I would say that working as a voluntary for a center with neurodivergent old people who had like mostly neurodivergent issues, and I just volunteered, but I didn't do anything scientific. I just truly helped. I went out with them, I went for walks, and this was in my region, so I was still connected to my house. I was still younger. I wasn't energetic student around the world. It's what truly made me realize how important it is to volunteer and connect with others. And if I didn't have that experience, I probably would have never had the passions that I have for researching on neurological disorders. I don't think I would have ever witnessed what this does to the families, to the parents, and how much research is lacking on it. And when I was there and I was communicating with the guests, but also with the other collaborators, which of course were older than me, I was asking questions about the conditions, about what was going on, and they didn't have any answer. They didn't have anything clear around it. And this is what made me think within myself that I want to actively work for these people. I want to actively research something that can change these conditions in the future, which are not only psychological, but they affect the motor system as well. They affect families, they affect communities, and they are extremely stigmatized, because when someone is diagnosed with something we already know and we can already have some therapies for, and it doesn't affect society, but it only affects the person from within, and it kills them slowly inside, then we're more open to welcoming them and to reaching out. But when we are scared and we are intimidated by what is going on, and that loss of control which happens in the mind, and you cannot control, you cannot predict, you cannot act upon it immediately. I do think that when the patient is not entirely conscious, we tend to think they are not feeling what they are feeling, and that it's less helpful. Our part is like less helpful in their journey in healing and feeling better and being welcomed in a community, in an environment, in a family. And I do think that's gonna be detrimental in the future if like breakthroughs in research aren't immediately proposed to them. Because until we take it on the psychological side, it's always easy to say that there is a spectrum that is not like severe enough. But when we actually present the neuroscience facts and the repercussions it has on the physical body, on the mental body, and on the communities itself, because the most important part is the communication that there is between the patients and the families, which is what I realized at the association, that's when you can actually make a breakthrough. It's not only about science, it's not only about psychology, and it's not only about volunteering. It's about merging these and actually making a breakthrough in research for neurological disorders. And I think it's still very stigmatized, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a huge issue, but I'm glad that you're an advocate and you're trying to change this. You're making a difference already, and we need more people like you to be contributing, to involve yourself in helping these people to reduce the stigma. Because, I mean, and it's not just in one place, it's everywhere in the world. They face stigma everywhere, and it's unjustified. To me, it's really unjustified. And that's why we need more people like you, who can help them. So kudos to you for doing that. And I know that you're going to be doing more of these things to help out people as a researcher. So yeah, keep it up, honestly. It's great what you're doing. And on that note, you're not just a budding scientist, but you're also a poet and a violinist. So you're very artistic and creative. Do you see these creative outlets as influencing the way you approach science and research, and if so, how?
I definitely think that they influence the way I research and the way I approach science, but more from an individual and personal side. As I said before, I am not a learner which is focused on one specific field, but I like to have a holistic personality, a holistic understanding of the world around me. And music, waves, they represent themselves everywhere. It's in the brain, it's in the body. Everything around nature is going to somehow resemble something which is going on in our brain or in our body. It's so interconnected that I don't think that anyone can perform science without having an artistic background before that, because it's what essentially fulfills us as humans and allows us also to do research and to be curious of what more we can do with like that art we have inside, but mostly with the science-based knowledge that we gain when we grow. But that human instinct that since you're a child allows you to perform arts, allows you to dance, allows you to sing unconsciously, it's not there just for people that want to pursue art. It's there for people to take it through their entire life, and despite it won't be your profession, and even if it won't be something you pursue for the rest of your life, and you only do it until you're 15, 16, 17, until you feel that it's helping you, you should continue doing it. And it affects every single learning opportunity you will have. I was a ballet dancer as well, and every time I memorized a choreography, when I had to also memorize school stuff, it was 10 times quicker. Music is science, in my opinion. It's everything around it is it works how the body works. The chords vibrate how the ones in our body works. Our voice is an instrument itself, and we use it every day. So I do think it's interconnected with science. Some people may agree, some people may disagree, but for me, science without art is just something very cold, and it's something that doesn't belong to me. I don't think I would have ever had the passion I have for science and for neuroscience if I wasn't an artist before. So the artist within me comes out before the scientist within me, and it will always be like that. And I feel like when we pursue art for our entire career, it wouldn't be... I like to keep it in my personal sphere because I feel like it remains more human, and you actually focus on what you really like about art rather than making it your whole career and having to stick to also organized things, because as any other job, you're not always gonna do what you like. So I do think it's better to keep that in my personal sphere and then use science as my career, especially because there's more I can research on and there's more that I can give to the world. I wasn't born as a child prodigy in either dancing or violin, so it's better to help people on what you know that you can help them with, and then develop the artist that you have within if you really want to pursue that, or vice versa. Even artists, they should have some background in science because it's extremely interconnected. And I'm pretty sure that if you speak to someone that directs an orchestra, that plays the violin in an orchestra, that dances, they have some sort of interest in science and they have some sort of science background. I do believe it's like this, and it's what makes an artist, as we say in Italy, at 360 degrees. So full angle, full package, and full life experience, in my opinion.
Interesting. So it's been influenced by your culture, of course, coming from Italy too. And it's beautiful. It's a very beautiful perspective because so many people think art and science are completely different. They don't mix. They're not interconnected in any way. No, absolutely not. That's not the case. They're very connected. You can't have arts without science. I think you can't have science without arts. Science is an art itself. Research is an art. Everything,
Yes.
in my opinion, is an art. And I'm sure you share that perspective too. I'm actually going to ask you a similar question regarding the same thing in a very neuroscience way later on in this episode. So I'm anticipating a great answer for that too, coming from someone who's so passionate about neuroscience. Very beautiful perspective. Now, let's talk about how you've helped organize a TEDx conference and you've led communications for international conferences, which is amazing. And me personally, I have yet to give a TED Talk, but I was the director of communications for a TEDx youth conference in Vancouver a couple years ago, which was one of the best experiences and positions I've had. And I absolutely love it when I meet someone else like you who's been involved in a TED conference of some sort. On the topic of communication, why do you think communication is such an essential part of being a scientist, a researcher, an artist today?
First off, I would say TEDx is the best experience you can have if you want to learn something about the world, about people, and about, I would say, very unusual jobs that you might not know and that you might not see in conferences because it's more of a backstage job, or it's a job that's not very famous, but it's so transformative and you don't know about it. And this is why TEDx is, the slogan is ideas worth spreading, because they really are worth spreading. And I worked with ocean conservationists, civil engineers. It's crazy how many people you can meet and how much you can get from their careers that you didn't know you actually needed until then. As scientists ourselves, I don't think you will ever find research without a group. If you just search up a research paper, if you want to get an internship, you're gonna have to collaborate with someone. There's no research when we're alone. because research itself, the whole point of it is building up what people found before. So if I found this, I wrote an article on it, and you want to continue it, you will have to cite me, because you're not inventing everything in that moment. And in order to cite me, you need to know about me. And what's the best way to know how people think, if not by getting involved in communication, by actually speaking with them, by hearing their perspectives, and by doing the most underrated job in the world, which is being backstage. And if I had to go back, I don't think I would choose to be a speaker if I was given the opportunity of it. Our team was only working on the background, and that was done through outreach to professionals and to different positions. And I am completely confident that that's one of the best things you can do. Backstage work in theaters as well. Everything shadowing a scientist, shadowing a journalist, shadowing someone that does something important and you're passionate of is the best way to learn and to become a better person. And most importantly, communication, it's what will save you when you need something and when people need something from you. Because it's not only about having to communicate with people you work with in research and with research groups and with other companies. It's also about being reliable and being known for your meticulous, serious, and organized work. And if you're a good communicator, people will know this. People will want to work with you. People will want to cite your research. So none of the work in science has ever been done by someone alone, and I don't think it will ever be like that in the future. So that's why it's important to learn communication in any field. It doesn't have to be research itself from a young age, because that's what will allow you to connect with people around the world. And if you have a certain package of skills that you know that distinguish you from other people that know how to communicate, you will always have that original side to you, which will make you recognizable and which will make you unique, and will definitely stand out in research as well sooner or later. You will always have to send that email. You will always have to text someone who's in a higher position than you. You're never going to be working alone, and you're never going to be the best at your work. There's going to be someone that's doing the same thing with the same tools with another team. And what makes a team great is collaboration. It's never individual work, unfortunately. Even if people say that it might work, that we might be discovering things alone, to discover that particular stem cell exists or can be used, you have to cite all of the people that discovered other stem cells. You have to cite the person that figured out that stem cells exist. You need to cite the person that figured out cells, the person that worked on microbiology, on stem cell biology. You have to cite so many people. It's 5 pages of citations, so we know very good how communication works. And even if we do it behind the screen, you should be able to do it in person as well. And that's why it's important to have experience, because that citation has other 50 people. That single line of text has 50 people behind, have 50 people that would love to talk to you and communicate to you and tell you more about their work and about that one line that you're including in your paper. And that's all down to communication.
It's all down to communication, really.
Yes.
And communication comes in so many forms: writing, speaking, public speaking, could be anything really. And sending emails, text messages. Like, if you're a good communicator, that will take you so far in life. And as you said, that's the case with any field, not just science. And I think TEDx, as you said, it's one of those experiences that I believe if you have the opportunity to get involved in it, either to organize a conference or to speak at one, take it. It's life-changing in some ways, and you meet so many amazing people. You discover new fields and new job prospects, like careers, just by going to a TED conference or speaking at one. So it's really a great experience. And as you said, yes, ideas worth sharing, they really are worth sharing. So communication is absolutely crucial. Let's move on to our first segment, STEM across time. So if you could witness any scientific event from history, no matter how far back, doesn't have to be recent history, could be ancient too, in the field of biomedicine or neuroscience, or really any field you like, what would it be?
Oh, it's a very good question. Very interesting question as well, because you might want to shadow or see people in the past for so many reasons. I would say from a data collection aspect, I think going far back in history is what will help you gain and collect those data that are missing now and that we are struggling to connect with the research we have done until today. But I find that the most interesting type of research is the one that's done through mistakes. And this is what students and many adults today don't realize, is that you don't always have to research with a precise objective, because you might realize that that mistake that you're making through your research path is what will actually make you discover something new. So if I'm just gonna take an example from my country. Through a complete coincidence, I think his name was Camillo Golgi. He was the one that was able to color and to give color to some neuronal branches. And I find it so interesting. There's plenty of other more famous mistakes in science, but I won't cite those because I prefer to bring something which is like more unexpected and from my own country, which also helps. And
Also, who the Golgi body is named after, right? In the cell.
I'm not sure if it's him, but it's most likely him.
Uh,
He was mainly a neuroscience, and then received at the Nobel Prize conference with Kajal. They also had a discussion, and yeah, they had a very fired and intense debate on specific neuroscience things that they were disagreeing on. So this like shows also how researchers won't always be thinking the same thing. You will have someone that says one, someone that says another, and being part of those moments and being part of that small mistake which led to the discovery, I would like personally truly be inspired by just looking at that mistake, because the reaction and the development from the mistake, I do think it's that moment in which your brain activates and connects to the point where you make the breakthrough. So that small moment where he made that coincidental discovery, which he wasn't expecting, of course, he was probably researching something else. That small moment in which that scientist or any other scientist makes the mistake, that's what I would want to see. Because after that, you perceive a sense of fulfillment and excitement that comes from months, probably days, weeks of trials and trials and trials on something completely unrelated, and discovering that small thing which then you build up, because of course it wasn't only the mistake, it was what he did after the mistake, and witnessing what was happening after the mistake would be something very inspiring to me, because I think that scientists and researchers nowadays need to have more trust in the natural flow of research and the natural flow in nature and what can happen with it. And I do think it's something very interesting to witness, because the great discoveries, the great breakthroughs which were planned and researched step by step, we can read about them, but we are never going to witness that one small mistake and the reaction and the immediate rush towards what you found, and that small thing that makes you realize that you're gonna make a change. So it would be probably very interesting to witness. But obviously from a scientific perspective, you would want to have data on what you couldn't see and what we couldn't have modern instruments to use on. I think that's the dream of like any scientist, to go back and just collect those few data that is missing in the paper and we still don't have and probably won't have for still a while.
It's very interesting. It's like like the quotes by Neil Armstrong: "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind."
For
Which
mankind,
is
yes.
that one for making mistakes in science. One small mistake for man, one giant leap for
One
science.
giant discovery for everyone.
One giant discovery for science.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, how many discoveries have been made through mistakes,
Ah,
and it shows that science is not perfect, and that you know sometimes you discover something in some fields without even trying to discover that thing. Like you were intending to find
yes.
out something else or innovate something else, and then suddenly
Yes.
you make a shock
Exactly.
discovery about something by just doing experiments, and that's just nature. That's just
It
nature, and
is.
as I said, it would be very interesting to go back in time and see how they made that mistake and then how they responded to that, what the process was. It's a very interesting response that you gave. I myself, I didn't consider it that way before.
I don't think
Now,
anyone considers it that way. I think
no, 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 to be
we see
honest.
the science as something that was like, oh, he must have been so lucky, but everything that came after that mistake, it's not luck. It's
Definitely not.
professionalism, and it's the ability to realize that something you did wrong can still take you somewhere. And I think that in science it's easier to detect because they have a strong background. But as a human, we often make mistakes and we take it on ourselves for the rest of like the day, the week, the year also. And we don't realize that that mistake might have brought us somewhere else and somewhere better. And I do think more people need to follow the scientific example and keep researching on that mistake. It's a mistake, okay, it's gonna take on another path probably. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Sometimes it's meant to be. The mistake is meant
It's
to
meant
be.
to be exactly.
Yeah, and that goes on. That goes for anything in life, really, not just science.
Yeah.
Now, going into the future, we talked
Hmm.
about past. Now, going into the future. Fast forward 50 years time. What do
Yes.
you hope we figured out in biomedicine or neuroscience, again, or any scientific fields, and what discoveries or innovations in these fields would you be most excited about?
So, what always fascinates me is the study they conducted on the heart and how we reached to um, creating something which acts as pacemaker cells. So, the pacemaker for the heart. So, I always say it when I join initiatives or I speak to people or to fellow science enthusiasts that my biggest dream is to make a pacemaker for the brain. Because
Mm.
what we really cannot control is the chemistry that goes inside, is the neurotransmitters, the imbalance, the synapses, everything in the brain that we think we are controlling is so highly influenced by our surroundings, by what
Yeah.
happens, by our life experiences. And most of the times, even though we think we can reverse it with therapy and
Mhm.
psychotherapy, I don't think we really can. And I wish there was something that works that doesn't have to be harsh on the body, harsh on the mind, and mostly cancel your personality. Like something which works as a small machine, as something that it's impossible to think about it now, but if I had to imagine something that would be a sort of pacemaker but for the brain, for the connections and to stabilize what should be stabilized because neurological disorders are impairing for humans. It's so hard to live with one of them, but you're still expected to be a part of society
Mhm.
because there is nothing that physically stops you. with some neurological disorders, of course, there is later in time. But it's just so fascinating how a huge storage machine like the brain is able, for example, to just forget. To forget who your family is, who your loved ones are, to forget what you experienced in your life, and to have such a difficult recovery from it, almost impossible. It's just mind-blowing to me, and it's such a wide and broad field of research which can have so much done in it if only we had the ability to enter the brain at a more molecular level rather than speculating on the chemical parts so much, which we managed to do with the heart, but it's so much more difficult with the brain because it's incredibly complex and it's shadowed by so many other things behind that it just feels like the neurons expanding. It's very similar to the expanding research you can do. As soon as you reach one connection, it's just broadens you to a whole different many possibilities. So I do think that would be my secret dream in research, to have something that can help people on a purely medical level and not on a chemical level. And we despise machines so much, but I think there will be something that will help us in the future on this, because machines are like truly sometimes something that helps and changes rather than chemicals, because you never know what that chemical does. But a machine can be more precise and less invasive than we think, because we think it's very invasive, but chemicals are and can be a point of no return, and we know it. They affect the brain so much, and I do think there's more awareness that should be done on it, and more research on a neuroengineering side. Yes. So that would be incredible to research.
Pacemaker for the brain.
Pacemaker for the brain. That's my dream.
Yes. Hopefully we get to see it in our lifetime. But yeah, I mean, it's super complex because the heart's just a muscle.
Exactly.
It's simple rather. The brain is unimaginably complex. Like it's even comparing different regions of the brain, different regions have different complexities, right? You have like the brain stem, more primitive, then you have the limbic system, and then you have the higher cortical areas that are very complex and have been evolved more recently, like the prefrontal cortex. Like it's even between different parts of the brain, there are varying levels of complexity, but even the simplest part is a lot more complex than, let's say, the heart.
Incredibly complex, and
Yeah.
it's much more than we think it is. It's a whole continent for every single small part of the brain.
Exactly.
And the chemistry is also what is very limiting on the engineering side, because the neurotransmitters is something that it's unique to the brain, and it influences so many things. And that one small chemical, the way it can block, the way it can fire, the way it can help through neuronal pathways, the way it can just sense something out of a sudden, it's very difficult to regulate unless you are using another chemical to regulate it. The brain is an incredibly difficult organ to research for machines and for engineering, neuroengineering aspects of it. And there is research on it, so it means it's possible, and it means people believe in it, and I find it extremely interesting. So joining that engineering side and that future prospect that we have, because that's what we have for the future, with the pure chemical, physical, because neurons are full of physics as well, side of the brain.
Yes.
that could be the turning point for research in neuroscience. It's not only psychology, it's not only neuroscience, and it's not only engineering. It should be all three that are working together on the common ground that can make an effective difference, I believe.
Yeah, and I love that you have that interdisciplinary approach,
Yes.
science into research, because that will go so much further. That will lead to so many more discoveries and innovations than just focusing on one singular approach in one field. Having an interdisciplinary approach is game changing. It's almost like what we said about cultures before, like having multiple cultures collaborating, putting their thoughts and ideas together versus just one.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the conclusion of our first segment. Let's talk more about neuroscience and research. So, as you've told me, neurological disorders, especially, are at the heart of your research. And in your eyes, what areas of neuroscience do you see as the most exciting or urgent frontiers for the next decade?
I mean, I don't really like speaking about what's urgent or not when we consider science, because I have the feeling that everything is urgent, because everything can lead to what we think is more urgent. So in the future, what may happen is that while researching the urgent thing or the less urgent thing, you will find something which connects to either of them. So while you do your research, while you conduct your data collection, you might find a mistake, which then leads to the important thing that you wanted to find. And therefore, I would say that everything in research can be interesting for me. Now, do I feel more attracted and engaged from a more specific area? Yes. As I said, neurological disorders are what fascinates me the most. But it's always because of the artist and the human that is within us. Because it comes from experiences I had, it comes from people I met, and it comes from the teachers I interacted with. So maybe if it had been in another field of neuroscience, in another specific research point, then it might have changed what I feel now. So I would say that my interest, rather than scientific, is more human as well. Because every time I do something, I try to imagine what is going to be the repercussion on society and that human interaction. Clearly, obviously, if you wanted to do medicine before, this means you already had an inclination on working and interacting with people. And this is also what I have. It's the impact that the research I conduct can have on the people that will receive that research, on the scientists that will read that paper and use it for the future. So I would say that I would want people to read my research on neurological disorders in the future, but I don't close myself to that area, because by researching other things that will fascinate me in the future, I'm still very young, so I'm just starting university now, so I don't have that deep experience. I'm like a sponge which is still ready to be squeezed and filled up with so many things, and I'm just waiting to flourish as that little like tissue and become full of experience, full of knowledge, and only by having knowledge you will realize what you're actually fascinated by. But on the human aspect and on my life experiences, this is for now what's captivating my attention. But in the future, who knows? It might be histology, it might be stem cells, it might be anything which can lead you to great discoveries. Because what I would recommend is to always follow the path that comes to mind in the instinctive moment. So if you have an instinct and you say, oh, I really want to do this, why did I decide to like throw myself into medicine? Just still do it. Even if you're into medicine, you can still be a researcher if you finish med school. Of course, it's gonna take more years than you need, but it's so useful because doctors that also conduct research are one of the most interesting and fascinating positions I have witnessed, because they have both that physical and interactive part with the patients and that incredible knowledge in research, which then can actually merge the two fields. Because we don't have to feel so far away. One is just operating the research on with the people and closer to the people, and one is operating it as at a molecular level in the lab. So I do think that everything can be inspiration, but mostly a starting point for research. But for now, it's still neurological disorders what fascinates me the most.
I can relate too. I mean, yeah, because I'm studying neuroscience and also I feel like a sponge as well. um, because, yeah, I mean, we're just at the beginning of the journey and there's so much to research, so much to discover, and also the rates at which research is happening right now. It's mind-blowing, especially with AI, with new technologies in general. It's taking us to new frontiers at a quicker pace we could have ever imagined. And I think it's very exciting. It's a very exciting time to be in university, especially to have just started university. So you're at a great place and at a great time, especially. And it's very exciting to see what will happen in the next decade or so and beyond.
Yes, you couldn't have placed it better, because saying that it's such a high rate means that what I see in my syllabus for neuroscience next year might be changed, might be reviewed. And even our professor, he started explaining something very like, it's quite outdated research now, so it's something we already are quite convinced about, or at least I thought we were, which is the transformation of insulin. And we all know that something is removed to form the active part of insulin in research, but what he said is that now researchers here in Sweden are trying to understand what that elimination means, which I find extremely interesting. Like, what is removed, what is the significance of what is removed, and what is the significance of what stays, because so many things are degraded constantly in the body, and we don't really pay that much attention on how important it is to remove that thing. So it's not always about what stays, but it's also about what leaves, which is why also on a human level it's important to see and keep track of who comes in, who comes out, and how me as a human positions within such an interconnected world. So I totally agree. And the fact that the thing you're learning and you think you will be learning can change within the span of 2 years, it's honestly, you can't as a person and as a student even tell anymore what you're interested in, because anything may pop out at any time and you're just gonna be dragged by it. And I do feel like going with the current and really letting it drift you towards what you're interested in at the moment rather than what your childhood dream was is the best thing. I wanted to be a lawyer when I was a judge, when I was until like 12, 13 years old, which is quite a lot. And then it just clicks, and when it clicks, best advice is to follow it.
Follow it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yes, there will be changes in interest along the way. But I mean, no one said you're supposed to follow one path. No one said you're supposed to, choose one path and then go through that path for the rest of your life. It can always change. Your interest can always change, and especially with I feel like there are new fields coming out all the time. It's not just like new innovations in fields, but new fields as a whole are being born.
Of course. 30 years ago, no one would have ever thought that they would be working with AI and programming AIs and creating something which is answering instead of them. Our parents, our grandparents, they couldn't know that they could be interested in this because it didn't exist. So It's
Exactly.
always open to what is coming rather than what you have at the moment.
Exactly. Exactly. That's how quickly things change.
Yes.
But it's exciting. Now, with opportunities through Kirlinska's neurotech network, which you told me about, and other things, what do you hope to focus on mainly in your early research career? So where you are around now?
I do think that I want to gain the basic skills to be a professional, organized, and reliable researcher. So sometimes focusing on the small things and what you have in the moment is the best thing you can do for your professional development. So what I want to do is to gain experience in labs and most importantly gain experience in fields I am not interested in or I'm not interested in at the moment, because you never know what will happen when you get thrown in a lab and they tell you run this trial and maybe you find something that you weren't that passionate of. So I'm looking forward to be open to every single opportunity that that comes across, rather than going to every single lab and seeing which one is doing neuroscience, which one is doing that specific thing I want to do, and then stressing myself to go there. I want to take what comes and what is given to me to start my skills, so that being confident on things that are not your natural propension, I think that's what makes you 360-degree, as I said before, researcher. So I do want to push myself across from where I stand now, and also obviously they have very good neuroscience network here. They have neurotech, which works with technology and neuroscience, which is what I just said I was interested in. So definitely I won't let that opportunity run, but I won't deny the 5 hour running the same specimen lab work, because that's what truly shapes students and what truly shapes you as a researcher.
Beautiful, beautiful response. Yes, when it comes to research, especially, it's something that is so heavily reliant on experience. Like people think research is just, I don't know, reading articles, getting information from those articles, and then writing your own research paper. But like you're doing experiments, you're doing lab work, and you're using that, like you said, like 5 hours working on a specimen or anything, to discover new things that you wouldn't be able to without doing all those things in the lab, right? Because otherwise you're just like absorbing information from other places and putting it out in like a different way. But when you do lab work, when you gain that research experience, actually doing experiments in a lab and then analyzing results, putting the data together, and then producing results in a research paper and sharing that with the whole research community and network, and then people cite your work and use it for their research. I think that's really the rewarding parts, the rewarding aspect of research. That's the impactful parts that will be the difference maker in science. And it all starts from university labs, and then later in your career you go to other labs and institutes working with larger teams who all come from different places, and you do amazing research, and they all have knowledge in different areas. You might have knowledge in neuroscience, they might have knowledge in AI, someone else might have knowledge in chemistry. You put all your knowledge together, all your skills and experience together, and you create something amazing.
Yeah, it's like living with different cultures. You will find someone which is used to doing different things than what you have been used to do. And that's the beauty of working in a research team, that you will never know what will happen within it and what ideas will flow in it. And you, and only you, of course, along with your team, will know what's behind that little citation line that will appear in so many other papers after yours.
Yeah.
And only you know the endless nights in the labs, the 2 a.m. trials because I decided to have this interval and it falls at 2 a.m. and I need to wake up and go to the lab. That's extreme dedication, and it's just fascinating on how much there is behind one single line in those papers. And when I look at the bibliography, just for one single paper, one single PDF page, I'm like, that's tons of people behind it, it's tons of days, a lot of research, and it's mind-blowing, and it looks like a neuronal network actually, and
Exactly.
it's
It's
what
our
we hope to do, one
yeah.
paper at a time, one branch at a time, reach what actually matters.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of it, really.
Yeah.
With like right now you're at Karolinska, you're about to, I mean, you've started and you're embarking on your research career. And then you mentioned to me last time we spoke that you're looking to pursue a master's at Imperial College London. And you told me where you want to be, like pursuing, you're where you want to be. You're pursuing research at Karolinska, which is brilliant. And your hard work has paid off so far. Now, how do you see your academic path unfolding from here in general? And where do you imagine yourself contributing most at Karolinska, maybe at Imperial College London later, or wherever you go?
Yeah, it's a good question because when you pursue a degree and it's your first bachelor, so it's the first real experience into what research might look like,
Yes.
and more detailed lessons which might make you feel like you're already in the field but you're really not. The question is always, where do I want to go after? What do I want to do after? Where do I want to end for in my master? What do I want to do for 1 year and write about for 1 year that will sort of like specialize me in something very specific? So I'm definitely looking forward to pursuing neuroscience as a master. And Europe is, what I like about Europe as well, is that our bachelors are very broad and interdisciplinary. So doing biomedicine now for me is not a limitation, but it's an awakening experience to what different subjects look like instead of specializing immediately. Then the issue is that the specializing master in neuroscience is more limited around the European area, and I'm a big fan of the European Union because it allows you to have that sense of community and that easiness in traveling as well, which
Yes.
I never take as granted when I go around. And when I travel to the Netherlands so easily, when I arrive to Sweden so easily, I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful to know that I can do it in my research job as well. And that if I have a conference, I can just fly there and I will be welcomed as a European Union member. I'm very sad for what happened for the UK, but they are reviewing their international community for students, and they have very good masters, they have very good research there, but I'm open to more opportunities than just that. It was an initial idea. Netherlands is incredibly good for research, and I have been there and I witnessed how organized and sharp their research is. So I'm open to that as well. Sweden, of course. All around Europe, it's full of opportunities, and I'm eager to take them and stay here as long as I can before I bring my research to other parts of the world. Because I do believe that this place can give a lot, and it's so diverse, it's so intercultural, it's so different despite being a whole community and being under the same label, let's say, that I really want to explore it deeply, fully, and then maybe fly away to bigger places and further places from my country. But yes, I will say very confidently that I'm happy that I'm in Europe, and I'm very grateful for the community that is being built, and I hope that it will keep being cohesive for science and for STEM subjects. So I really hope this can improve and that all of the countries will collaborate in it, because it's an underdog. The research that can be done when you connect all of the countries, and I saw it in my class, in my small biology class, in my small chemistry class, I saw this, how interconnected it can be if everyone collaborates in the universal language of STEM. And you don't need to have good political relationship to make good research together. So I do think it's a huge potential there. It's a huge collaboration, and interconnecting is what can bring people forward. Because sometimes you just need that little thing that is missing and that someone else can give you around the world, and it's so difficult to reach them. And it can be so easy. So for now, this is what I'm viewing and visioning for my future, but I'm open to traveling all around the world, because everything is worth seeing and everywhere is worth working and bringing your contribution.
Definitely, definitely. And especially in Europe, I haven't lived there, but I know, one, how easy it is to travel within Europe, and also it has this more community aspect with all the countries, all the cities so close. They have cultural similarities, but also very diverse at the same time. And especially with the European Union, you know, as you said, you go to conferences and everything, and you are welcomed as a European Union member. And just this community aspect, I think, is super crucial, and it's something that lacks in the US, where I study.
I agree.
Yeah, one, it's huge. So going between major cities takes a long time, and also has less of this community aspect. There's also this huge divide politically, which we won't get into, but I mean, the US is, you know what it's like there.
Yes.
And yeah, I think that's also one reason I would love to live in Europe, live like at least for a few months, just to see how it is. You know, I've always been there as a visitor, and I've loved it everywhere I've visited, or almost everywhere. I've fallen in love with it. And I want to see what it's like to live there once, at least, to try study abroad, or later when I work, see what it's like to live in somewhere in Europe, maybe Italy, maybe Scandinavia, maybe the UK. Just to see what it's like, just see what the community is like, what it's like to work there, what it's like to collaborate with people, and then compare that to the US and Canada, which I've lived in my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I want to draw those parallels, and like you, I want to go around the world and, you know, try what it's like working there, what it's like to collaborate with people, to live there, and then compare them together, see which one is better in certain aspects.
And that's a great prospect. It's a great way of approaching it. It's
Exactly.
two very
To have that
different
dual
realities. Yes, it's two
Exactly.
incredibly different realities, incredibly different ways of thinking, but both high research, high citations, and it's just two completely different worlds. And I don't feel like you're really fulfilled if you don't experience both. So I really recommend experiencing both. Then obviously you might stabilize yourself in the one that's closer to your passions and to your goals, to your life objectives, through your moral, ethical, political viewpoints as well. But you should experience both at least once, and it's very nice that you have this prospect in mind for the future.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to do study abroad as well, because academia is so different on this side of the world versus Europe versus Asia. It's so different everywhere. You know, it's one Earth, but everywhere they approach things differently. Kind of similar structures, but also very different in a lot of ways.
Very different, yeah.
Yeah, so that's also something I'm passionate about, to try to see how different academic systems, different ways that research is done, how they differ across the world. And so yeah, I'm glad to see you also share that perspective. I think we need more global perspectives when it comes to research, especially.
Definitely.
Yeah. Now, let's move on to our second segment, which is a STEM mythbuster. So, because you're both very creative and scientific, I want to ask you this, and this is the question I mentioned a bit earlier. We're told that creativity and science come from different parts of the brain. Do you think this separation holds true, or is it more interconnected than people realize?
Uh-huh. I think I will answer very, very quickly on this. I know there has been a lot of, it's a very widespread idea, but I do think it's actually a myth, and it has been debunked by scientists as well. And they said there's like no attitudinal division between the brain. Like the artistic side, the scientific side, they are divided and they do serve like different functions, but it has been almost entirely disproved that one side is for one thing and one side is for the other thing, which is why there's people that have both qualities or a mix of qualities.
Yeah.
And living in a society which has been entirely based on saying, oh, I'm more of a scientific mind, more of an artistic mind or literary mind, is very limiting, because there is so much of both in every single one of them. And people just don't realize how much there is, so they think they are not inclined and they are not fit for that specific discipline, but in reality they are, because this is just a myth. It's not really divided in that way. It's divided in other ways, in other physiological and functional ways, because it's still two different sides. Everything is asymmetrical in the body, and we often forget about that. Our face is asymmetrical. If we cover it, it's different. The lungs are asymmetrical because there's the heart occupying a space. So nothing is the same, but it's also not divided between all the art and the sciences.
It's interconnected.
It's not. Yeah.
Yeah, like they say, you know, I think the right side of the brain is more creative, the left side is more logical.
No.
But I mean, no, it's you can't divide it that way. Maybe yes, there are some functions that the right side does better in creativity, the left side does
Definitely.
better in logic, but like it's interconnected. You can't divide them simply like that. I mean,
No.
the two hemispheres are connected very strongly,
Yes.
and you can't deny it. I mean, you
Yes.
have a
No.
compass.
It's been debunked. It was very
Yeah,
popular at one point of research,
yeah, I know.
but nowadays, if you ask most of neuroscientists, they say that's a myth. It's debunked. Yeah.
Debunked, absolutely. Let's go into a few more questions. From your perspective as a young researcher, what role do you see youth play in shaping the future of neuroscience and STEM more broadly? How do you see this vision through Youth STEM initiative, which you just joined?
The, this is what I really appreciate about the Youth STEM initiative. Firstly, that it's inclusive to all of the STEM disciplines, because often you find neuroscience association, club for mathematics, a club for biology, only chemistry, only this, only that, and everything is important in STEM, and everything should work together, which is what I find extremely interesting about the initiative. And what distinguishes us from researchers before is that we have an incredibly smaller amount of time in which we are able to communicate. So it's way shorter than what they had, it's so easy to communicate, to click, to cite, to send something. It's much faster, and as you said before, it's almost uncomfortably faster. So I would say the best thing and the best skill that youth can have is to be on top of the things and to be fast and reactive, because the moment you will finish your research, someone else will have done something about it and will have been doing something more. So you can't have that slow process, but it has to be dynamic, and you have to be open to changes, because there is so many. Just if we look at vaccines, how many were, like, it was a race almost to find the right one. It was almost, so when you finish and you think you're okay, there is something else on the market that's doing it better than you, or it's doing it faster than you, it has more doses than you, more money to fund it. So you have to be highly adaptable, and that's what I think that's needed, and what I think that the Youth STEM initiative is working towards, to be adaptable, to be interdisciplinary, and to be multifunctional as a person. I can do this, but I can also do that. If I'm researching in biology, I don't mind if something very chemical, very physical, very mathematical, or related to engineering comes up. It should be a natural process in STEM sciences, because if we think that we're going to do one single specialized thing for the rest of your life, that's a bit of an illusion we're living in.
Definitely. Yeah. It's very interdisciplinary, many different fields, and people combining their knowledge, sharing their knowledge in different fields. And yeah, I think what you said about being quick and adaptable, especially in such a fast-paced world, such a fast-paced research world too, is crucial, because people say like it's not a race, but I mean,
it is.
It is. It's a race.
Unfortunately, it is.
Unfortunately, it's a race.
It depends by the field, but unfortunately it is. Especially if it's the pharmaceutical field, if it's something which will help someone, or which unfortunately will bring money, it's a very competitive race. And
very competitive.
We can dream of a united STEM community, but there will always be competition in it. Unfortunately, it's just part of who we are and who we are as humans, but that's why you should be adaptable, and you should also be very humble when being a researcher, because you never know enough.
You never know enough. And it's a good thing, though, because that competition drives each other, right?
Yes.
When you see someone making some kind of new vaccine, new drug, anything, you want to compete to make something better. And then that, as a whole, drives humanity forward. It leads to advancements at a quicker pace. It leads to better treatments for diseases. The competition, it's good that it's there. It's good that it's there. I think it's healthy. It's a healthy competition, at least in research. It's not toxic, which is also a good thing. But I'm glad that it does exist, because if it didn't exist, then things would be advancing.
Would be slower as well.
Much slower rate.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you could give one powerful piece of advice to other students or youth who feel caught between disciplines, medicine, research, arts, communication, everything, what would it be?
I will tie back on what I said before. If you have an instinct which you don't initially trust, you should leave everything and change. And change, it has been studied neurologically, and neuroscience has demonstrated that it is one of the scariest things. I feel like the biggest threat to society is comfort, because it leads to lesser and lesser and lesser firings in the neurons, and neuronal plasticity in general. It's highly reduced when we are comfortable with one thing and we are used to the same thing for a long time, to the point that wanting change from within ourselves appears scary, which I think, and the best advice I can give, if you ever feel too comfortable, it means you are doing something wrong. There is something which is not working, and there is something which you should be working towards. So if I had to give a very, very unusual, I would say, advice, is to not be too comfortable and to trust your instinct and leave everything and change. Because that's what you won't regret in the end. What you will regret is being too comfortable. So it's a very harsh advice, but I think it's what helped me throughout my path. And definitely it's very cliched, but you shouldn't be stopped if you're initially not good at the thing you're doing. Because in research there is so many different roles, there is so many different opportunities, that it's nearly impossible to not find what you thrive in. So I would say not get comfortable and just push forward on what you believe it's right for you. But it should be you believing it. It shouldn't be someone else, otherwise you shouldn't push through it.
Definitely, and you know a lot about that, having stepped outside your comfort zone,
Yeah.
going to the Netherlands, now to Sweden at a young age, and you also switched your interests. You know, now you want to do more research. You know a lot about it, so that is some great advice coming from someone who knows how to step outside their comfort zone, and that's really the key to growth. And that's something that everyone should understand. You don't grow by being comfortable. You don't learn by being comfortable. You have to take risks. You have to step outside your comfort zone. You have to do things that sometimes you have to sacrifice things for, but in the long run will lead to your growth and progress and just make you a better, more adept person.
I agree. It
Yeah.
couldn't have been said better.
Thank you. What's one hope or vision that you hold for the intersection of neuroscience, the arts, and storytelling in the years to come?
That's very interesting, and I would. What comes to mind right now is that everything about neuroscience and about healthcare and arts, what people don't realize is that it's very connected. And I had a girl in my school, so there was the opportunity to take up visual arts as a subject, but she also took biology. And what was interesting was her art exhibition at the end of the school year, which was about using biological tissues, biological organs, and things that are usually found in healthcare and STEM to make art and to produce something which merges neuronal networks or a tissue which looks like art. And this is what we keep forgetting, that our body, our mind, everything is interconnected with the arts. So what I hope for is that there is more awareness, and this awareness can be raised through the arts. And let's be honest, the number one advice they give you when you are feeling bad mentally is to do something within the arts, is to dance, is to go out, is to do sports as well, obviously. But we forget so easily that it's not just a coping mechanism, but it's a whole world behind what neuroscience is. Waves that we have, waves that are produced in their vocal cords, everything about our body can be somehow related to what we do as people, as humans, or as artists. So what I hope for is that more artists get interested in research and get interested in healthcare to be active towards it, and more researchers give up a bit of their time, their self personal moment time to be artists. And I recently came across a very nice initiative they have here in Stockholm, just called Dance for Health.
Hmm.
And it's basically a whole choreography which is done in the street, and it's to raise awareness about suicide, which I think it's something which should be broadcasted more,
Definitely.
because it's that connection between something which can pull you out of that moment. And I heard so many people that were pulled out of that moment through the arts,
Hmm.
and at the same time raise awareness on something which is extremely serious and it's extremely difficult to detect. Because if you break your leg, that's very easy to detect, and
Yes.
even if you're not sure about which bone broke, about what's twisted inside, you're always going to have the idea that something is wrong,
Hmm.
because your body reacts to it. But if something is wrong in the brain, then that's much more difficult to detect, because
Yeah.
you are naturally prone to also denying it to yourself, and therefore deny it to society. Which is why I think it's very important to merge neuroscience with arts, because it's the only way in which it can be fully expressed through any type of art. So I highly encourage this interdisciplinary approach, and who knows, maybe with the Youth STEM initiative we will also reach that and make it plus arts, and it would be amazing to collaborate and find a merging point that can be inspiring for both the artists and the researchers, because I think it's not that easy to find, but it's definitely possible.
Definitely possible. Yeah. We can change the name to Use STEAM Initiative. Add
That's a
the
great
A.
idea.
I mean, yeah, it's tremendously impactful movements like these, like whether it's in Stockholm, because the arts, the way it affects humans, it's almost like, I mean, without art we can't live. We simply can't. We can't
No.
have fulfilling, joyful life. It's something that is so integral to our existence, to who we are, to how we represent ourselves and
Yeah,
express ourselves,
of course.
that it undeniably plays such a big role in every aspect of our lives, no matter what we do, no matter what our profession is, no matter where we come from, what our culture is, the language we speak. It just affects us in ways that I don't think anything else does, really. And art, no matter how abstract, will always play such a huge role in society and in humanity and
Of course.
everything that we do, really. So
It's
we need,
inevitable.
yeah, exactly. We need a stronger connection between art and science and research and every field, really. I think art is at the center of everything.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Arts of any kind.
Yeah, and it was beautiful to bring it up. Yeah.
Of course, yeah. This brings me to my last question for you personally. What is your plan after academia? Where do you see yourself ideally in 10 to 15 years' time? I mean, no one, of course, knows.
No one knows.
That's,
I could be anything. I could be a
yeah,
physician, a physiotherapist,
of
literally
course,
anything.
of
But
course. But ideally, where do you want to be?
ideally, if I pursued research, I wouldn't see myself as a professor, although
Hmm.
I enjoy teaching so much. But I just don't think I have that um, unique ability to inspire that many students as I want to.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't feel completely fulfilled by it. And I would definitely thrive more in a lab. So I do think I see myself doing research. But what I want to reach, definitely, which is one of my objectives, is to not only research on the neuroscience aspect, so on my main fields of like practice, which is biology, maybe chemistry, um, some physics, of course, neuronal biophysics, whole new world.
Mhm.
but I really want to take up what's been navigating the world now, which is machines and which is machine learning, programming. I, I really am scared, but at the same time, I feel the need to include it because I don't think it will be eliminated as easily. So it's really important to familiarize with it. So I do see myself merging traditional research and the research that we have been doing until now as scientists with machine learning and more technical aspects of biology, chemistry, physics, and maths. So I do want to see myself working with some sort of machines. Not sure which ones. I want to probably make one if it's possible. Maybe not a pacemaker, but something that can help someone in a specific thing. So
Yeah.
that's definitely what I would say right now is the thing which inspires me the most.
Mhm.
But now who knows? Like maybe a machine will literally do the job I am planning to do. So I'm still not sure on what's the future for research. But what I'm sure of is that it's always needed and there's not going to be lack of work. Definitely.
Definitely. And by then, there will probably be so many machines, so many new
Yes,
machines, more advanced machines.
exactly.
Maybe that pacemaker will exist for the brain, or you can help
So
develop it. The sky's the limit.
the sky is a limit,
Sky's the
like
limit
this
for
one. It's always a
very,
good one.
of course. So this brings us to our final segment of this episode. Tell me a fun fact about STEM in Italy. It could be about its culture surrounding STEM, the innovation, the education, anything. Particularly if you have one from Northeast Italy where you're from, that would be even better.
So I will be mean guest and try to flip the question because I cannot think of any fun facts around science in my country. But what I do want to share, and I
Mhm.
find it very important, and I don't think that the number I will say will match what people think the number is, which is the number of degrees in STEM in Italy which are uptaken by women. And
Mhm.
it's 8.8%, which is extremely sad. It's very low
Really.
and very sad. And I hope this can change and that somehow I can inspire more girls to pursue a career in STEM because it can be very scary and intimidating. But it's not a fun fact. It's a very sad fact. But I think we have the tools and capabilities and yeah, like inspiration and perseverance and determination to improve this. So I really want to make a change in this aspect because 8.8% is bad. It's not where we want to be.
It's very low.
And yeah, it's very low and it's something I wanted to end up on a high note, but I think it's important to make people that are listening realize how much their presence means, especially for women, to not think that, oh, there's gonna be someone else doing it for me, there's gonna be another girl representing this. It's okay, I can do something else, I can not do research, I can not do STEM. No, you should do it because the number is very low. So I hope that this can help someone that's in doubt between faculties right now. Yeah.
And thank you for raising awareness on that. Because I think especially Italy, it's a very educated country,
Yeah.
very creative people, very capable people, smart, they can really do anything. And I think in the arts, obviously, it's maybe the best in the world.
Yeah.
Not, it's the best in the world. And when it comes to STEM, it's definitely it's a very innovative country,
But
but
improvable. Much
yeah,
more improvable.
unless those numbers aren't improved, if it's really that low for STEM engagement among women, if more women get involved in STEM in Italy, that will completely just change the landscape of STEM and scientific innovation in Italy.
Definitely. And research in general. We are very behind on research and we can do so much better with more funding. So I do think we should work as an international community, which is what we're not doing, because if some countries have more funds, unfortunately research is expensive, so we need support in general in whole countries in the whole world. There is need of support for research, and I do think that it can really help, because unfortunately we live in a world where money matters and research requires a lot of them, and there should be more for it, definitely. But
A
yeah,
lot more.
there are a lot of fun facts as well, I think, but I I can't think of any of them. Um, I did recently discover that Alfred Nobel is had a studio in Sanremo, which is
Really?
where, yes, which is also where we have the Sanremo Festival, which is
World Music Festival.
exactly the huge music festival. So
Mhm.
that's very fun fact actually, and who knows, maybe like there will be some sort of other collaboration between science and a city which is known for arts. Who knows? Maybe Verona, where the arena is, we will open a new breakthrough research lab. But
Yes.
it's quite interesting, and I didn't know that he had a studio there. But he had studio around almost every country, so
Very
that is
cool.
still a fun fact.
I'm not surprised though, because the art scene in Italy, it's the best I've seen. I haven't been to every country, but I know it's just the best in the world. It's world
It's very
class.
good.
It has that history from the Renaissance,
Ah,
and just in every arts really, when it comes to music, painting, everything, the festivals that are there, just the architecture in the cities, it's
definitely.
top. So yeah, I mean maybe he also has a studio in as you said, Verona or Florence. Who knows?
No, that no, but he does have around Europe and around other countries.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just a big thing here in Sweden, of course, and
Yes.
the Nobel lectures are here and they will be here, so that's very exciting. Um, yeah, so it's very fun to know, and it's very interesting on how researchers move around the world, which is what I recommend to young people as well, to move around the world during your work. Being based in the same place for a long time is counterproductive most of the times.
Yeah, and you're restricting yourself
Yes,
from
exactly. It's
what
limiting.
exactly from
Yeah,
seeing what research is like in the rest of the world, from seeing how other
absolutely.
people do research and how it differs across cultures.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, I thank you for raising awareness, and we really need more of that because again, Italy is so capable. The people there are so capable, and
Exactly, and I think it's around the whole other countries. It's the same.
yeah,
It's
in
gonna
many
be around the
countries,
same
of course.
percentage. So, yeah,
Yeah, more women in STEM completely will change the landscape for the
definitely.
better. That brings us to the end of the 12th episode of Across STEM with YSI. A huge thank you to Maria Sole for joining me and sharing about your amazing journey so far, all before you even turned 20, from going abroad to study in such an international environment in the Netherlands to your game-changing encounter with the biological psychiatry professor at Max Planck in Germany, to now pursuing research at Karolinska Institute in Sweden, one of the world's top medical universities. And as much as you're a very scientific person, you're also super creative and demonstrate that with the beautiful pieces you've written, which, by the way, I think we need another episode on because you've shared me some pieces and they're absolutely beautiful, very well written, and evokes a lot of strong emotions. So we'll talk about that in a future episode together. Also playing the violin from a young age, being part of TEDx, and so much more. You truly embody the ideals of a multifaceted person and a multi-passionate person who I know will make a tremendous difference no matter what you do or where you go. So keep being you, continue to do all these unique opportunities and get involved with different initiatives and programs globally throughout your career and life. And I'm really excited to work with you at Youth STEM Initiative as one of our community managers and writers. Maria Sole, do you have anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
Just keep spreading your ideas. Best thing you can
Absolutely.
do. And I'm so glad to have this opportunity and to work with you in the future towards an interdisciplinary world. Yeah.
Of course, I'm really excited as well. And I like that you use that TEDx quote,
Yes,
right?
ideas worth spreading
Ideas
always. I
worth
think it's the
spreading.
best way to close.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. To the audience, as always, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow Across STEM with YSI on Spotify, rate us on Spotify, and also check us out on socials to stay updated. We've got more and more incredible guests and conversations coming your way with beautiful, inspiring stories like Maria Soles. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep exploring STEM across borders and time. Thank you very much.